Okay, we're streaming now.
Great, thank you very much. So Chair calls to order the Harford County Redistricting Commission meeting for September 23rd, 2021. This is a little bit of a different meeting. We're streaming virtually. This is part of our efforts to make sure we communicate the work the commission has done so far and the maps that we are considering currently. So my name is Mustafa Steek. I'm the chair of the commission. I'm joined by Commissioner Jim Thorin, Commissioner Eric Roby, and we should be being joined here momentarily by Commissioner Christina Brucknell. We have our last commissioner, Commissioner Wayne Goddard, will not be joining us tonight. So before we go too much further, and this is the agenda that we have for today, where we're going to be presenting those maps, and then we'll have a public comment, and then we'll finish it out with some commissioner comments before we adjourn the meeting. What I wanted to do is, especially for folks that may not have been following the redistricting process so far, I wanted to provide some context as to why this redistricting process is occurring and how we as a commission have proceeded and how we've done our work so far. So why do we redistrict? Why do we need to redraw electoral lines every 10 years? Well, there's a term called reapportionment, and what happens is as population changes, we have to make sure that all of our districts are equal in representation. There's various laws that dictate that, and for the Harford County Commission, we've been the Section 205 of the county charter dictates those directions. And there, like I said, there's various other federal laws, state laws that also dictate what we do. So far in our timeline, the timeline was shifted a little bit, and our plan was changed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. What occurs is the census data has to be published and then processed by our State Department of Planning. Then we use that data to make sure we have the most accurate information. So far, the steps that you see up until the refinement stage, which is where we're at right now, have occurred. The county council selected commissioners so 2 commissioners from each of the major parties in the county, and then 1 independent. So I'm the independent. Once we met, since we didn't have the data because of the delay, we invited members of the public, which included leadership from political parties, the municipalities, to discuss their priorities and more so give us an education and an understanding of the specific interests of communities that we may not be aware of. Once we were given the data, we were able to generate various maps and also accept maps from the citizens of Harford County that submitted them. Like I said, we're in the refinement stage, so we are collating a list of changes and intend to vote on a final suggestion for the county council. And that vote will tentatively occur on Monday. Currently, what we're doing tonight is we want to make sure that we provide an opportunity for folks that may not be able to get to our meetings, an opportunity to have an understanding of the maps, and if in the event they wish to provide feedback, they can before that Monday date. Once we vote on a map, we'll be completing a report summarizing our redistricting process and final options to the county council. It is of particular note that we as a commission do not actually vote and basically sign into law a map. That is the duty of the county council. We are purely providing advice and a recommendation to that commission. Like I said, we're at that refinement stage right now. Before we have a due date, which is in the charter of October 1st to the county council. Like I said, there are overarching laws that the districts must meet, or I should say parameters that the districts must meet. And these 3 are found in the county charter. So districts must be compact. And what does compact mean? So it's considered compact if it's fairly regular shape, with constituents all living relatively near each other. Of course, depending on the type of area, whether it's rural, urban, suburban, the actual proximity can vary, of course. but the general idea of compactness stands true. The second parameter is they must be contiguous. What does that mean? So a contiguous district is a district where all parts of the district are connected to each other. And lastly, they should be substantially equal in population. So what does that mean? So the population difference between the largest and smallest, and I mistyped here, it should be council district, county council district, may not be more than 10% of the average district population. So I hope that provides some a little bit of context for folks that may not be aware of the process or been following the process as much as some of us on the commission have, of course. Now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Joel Gallahue. He's been the one assisting us with the technical map development, and he's going to present the maps to us. Lastly, before I do that, I just want to thank you all for joining us today and listening in. And of course, all the folks that have helped make this happen. We as a commission really appreciate your help making that happen. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll change it, turn it over to Mr. Gallahue, and you should be good to go, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Joel Gallahue. I'm a staff person in the Department of Planning and Zoning, and I've been helping the commissioners to evaluate 4 different maps. So I'm going to make a brief presentation on those maps, and I'm also going to point you in the direction of where you can look at more details about those maps. All right. This is the presentation that I used last night with one slightly different slide, but the first thing to look at is to understand the existing map. When you look at the existing map, what we have here is it's been updated with this new census data from the 2020 census. And so we can evaluate how fair this map is based on one of the criteria that Mustafa mentioned earlier, the population. And we can also look at the other criteria, the contiguousness and compactness of the districts. What stands out with this present map is the largest district is F. That's the district that contains Havre de Grace and a large section of the base and sort of the Bell Camp area. And then the smallest district is the one that contains the town of Bel Air. And the other thing that we can look at, we're using a software called Dave's Redistricting, and you'll be able to press links on that to look at the details in those. The Dave's Redistricting does give some statistics for each of the plans. So I'll call your attention to the population. You can see I had cited for F and C the differences in population. You can also see the percentage differences, and then you can see the total difference. And then it gives some information about the demographics of the different districts over here on the right. So we'll see the same information for all 4 of the maps in this presentation tonight. The next map that I wanted to show you has been generated by Commissioner Roby. He made these suggestions in a couple of different meetings. He made a few slight changes, and this represents the final version that he offered. And so, as you can see, the map has changed in some areas. And in this case, I believe the largest is, I'm going to say that I thought it was, he had expressed in one of the meetings that the intent was to have more population in the areas that were already developed so that there would be space for growth. So in any case, you can take a look at the results of this plan. So what you have here is the percentage differences in size of the districts and the overall deviation for the population. This is a good comparison number for looking at different maps. And this does meet the federal, this 10% threshold is a federal threshold. There has been conversation about Maryland guidelines for 5%. So you can see it's very close to that as well. Next map has been submitted by representatives of Havre de Grace and Aberdeen. And what they represented to the commission was there was a conversation that began about the two jurisdictions, and they are municipalities, which are different from other subdivisions in the county. Bel Air, Havre de Grace, and Aberdeen are the three municipalities in Harford County. And but these two particular municipalities came to an observation that there would be benefits to having a councilmanic district that contains the two municipalities. So you can see that here in this map in F. And in order to do that, of course, they had to make changes to the other districts so that they could meet the other tests of compactness, even differences in population. So they did that. They've testified as to the pros of the plan. There's been other discussion about the plan, questions about it, but at least you can take a look yourself and you can see that what the software reports on the differences in the plan and the deviation, overall deviation right here, 4.99%. The next plan is a modification of that plan. That's why it's called Plus. This one comes from the chairman, and what he basically did was he heard from a member of the community about this particular area, which is normally a part of A. So it somewhat isolated from A was the testimony. So he put that change in. This also, as a result of how the plan was drawn for Aberdeen and Havre de Grace, it does incorporate a number of the changes that were in the Roby plan, although it's not essentially from that plan, but it's that's the gist of that plan. And so here you can see the overall population, and you can see the deviation is 4.7%. The last one that we have to look at is called Wilson, because the citizen who submitted it happens to have that last name. And what she expressed in her email was she felt that the plan that had been submitted by Aberdeen and Havre de Grace was causing some of the rural areas of the county to be contained within councilmanic districts that were substantially less rural. And so she went back to creating a large rural district, which you can see in D. And much like the developing the combined district, other changes were needed as a result in order to balance things out, which she did in her plan. And so that's shown here. You can see the deviations for the individual districts, and it's 6.41% population deviation overall for this plan. Now, you're going to probably want to look and learn a little bit more about these plans. So on the county web page, if you enter in this 3221 Councilmanic Redistricting Commission, tack that on to the county, you can get to the Redistricting Commission's web page. For some reason, my browser, when I just do Google, it takes me to an old page that's no longer working. So I just want to make sure people know that particular URL, because what is happening here is this has all the agendas and minutes in it. And for each of the different four plans that I just shared with you, it takes you through step by step of the differences or the changes that are being made by each plan. And you can click on a URL that takes you to a tool that was developed to make these maps called Dave's Redistricting. And you can click directly on the tabs and look at the analysis that is built into the software. that's the entirety of my presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Great, Mr. Gallagher. Thank you very much for that summary. So now we will transition over to the public comment period. In terms of the length of testimony, we have set a limit of 3 minutes. So respectfully, please try to meet that limit. First on the list, I have Paula Casagrande. I apologize in advance if I mispronounce any names.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. I'm Paula Casagrande, and I have lived and owned a small business in Havre Grace for the past 21 years. Thanks for the opportunity to allow me to speak, and I'm in support of the map that was presented by the cities of Havre Grace and Aberdeen. I feel that this map brings together concise communities of interest. I think everyone wants their elected officials to have a commonality with their community. And as it is right now, my council person lives in Abington. And I'm sure if it was the other way around, residents of Abington would not feel properly served if their council person lived in Havre Grace. And I want to say something here because I heard about this and it upset me that it was alluded that Havre Grace wanted this map because we were being prejudiced about our council person being Black, which is just, ridiculous, because I kind of feel like the way that the map is now, it kind of, it cuts up Route 40, it marginalizes the people along Route 40 so that they can't come together and be able to vote in a concise district. And I've heard so much about, that this is partisan, and, Bill Martin and Mayor McGrady, they're both Republicans. I'm not. And I support their maps. And in fact, it does my heart good to see elected officials working for the greater good, for fairer districts rather than, their own party and retaining power. Every 10 years, on the left and the right, I see gerrymandering going on to retain power. And I'm just really hoping that, this time Harford County can rise above that and create districts that encompass communities that have the same interest, and they can elect people from their own community rather than somebody that's, further up the district. So hopefully you guys will do that and make me really happy and proud that we could rise above all that. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much for that.
All right. Thanks.
Next, I have Jason Robertson.
Right now. Hello.
Jason, yep. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, there we are. Yeah. So my name is Jason Robertson. I'm a city councilman in the city of Havre Grace. I've attended one of your meetings in the past. I do want to thank you all for your service. I understand what public service is like. But I haven't been attending only because we came up with this recommendation and, we made our voices heard. And I think that Mayor Martin has done a very good job of continuing to make our voices heard. And it's really the reason for my call this evening is because I heard the comments from Mr. Wayne yesterday, September 22nd, at the commission meeting. And, I was a little taken aback. So I wanted to call and set the record straight. So firstly, what we're dealing with is I can assure you that no one on the Havre Grace City Council and the administration considered politics in this redistricting. The sole purpose of what we were trying to set out and accomplish is ensuring that Havre Grace had the best representation possible. And out of that discussion and the decision came that we would marry up with Aberdeen, which is a similar size city. We have a lot of the same issues, and generally, we just wanted to make sure that both cities were represented equally. Never did the discussion of race come up, and I'm very insulted that that presumption would even be made. Number one, because it's grossly inaccurate. Number two, because it doesn't even make sense. What we're arguing here is to bring more Black people into our district arguably, we would have a greater chance of having more Black representation. So it doesn't even make sense. Why, why this thought process came into this person's mind is beyond me. My only assumption is that they couldn't make a good, solid political argument because, as Ms. Casagrande said ahead of me, you had Republicans and Democrats alike working on this without partisanship being the main focus. The main focus, again, is just to make sure that representation is distributed equally. All I care about are the citizens of Havre de Grace and making sure that we're represented well. And I think that if any one of you knew anything about our city, you would understand that that race is not the forefront of our mind, especially if you knew anything about me or any of the other council members or the mayor that I serve with. So it's really insulting. I just want to put that on the record, that to insinuate that Havre de Grace, the place where we have an institution called the Colored School, because the rest of Harford County wouldn't accept Black people into their schools. Havre de Grace, the place that's nationally recognized for Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. Havre de Grace, where all the council people attended the unveiling of the Ernest Burke statue just recently. Havre de Grace, the intended place where the Alfred B. Hilton statue will be placed. So it's just very insulting, very frustrating. And, get the damn politics out of making sure that our people are represented. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, sir. Next, I have Christopher Ritchie.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Mr. Ritchie, are you there?
Sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Christopher Ritchie. I want to give you a little bit of background about me, but first, thank you for allowing me some time to discuss this important topic. So I have a master's degree in business administration. I am currently a PhD candidate majoring in human capital administration. And I am the Deputy Director of Administration for the City of Havre de Grace and also the Human Resources Officer for the City of Havre de Grace, also resident of the City of Havre de Grace. So I give you a little bit of that background just for your reference. I want to talk in a little bit of detail about these different map proposals and also about the website that member from the planning department discussed. It's a really powerful website. If people have not had the opportunity to look at it, please do. But he did not mention one of the most important tabs, and I apologize. I wish we were in person because I could give you handouts with this. But there is an Analyze tab in there that I strongly recommend that each of the commission members look at. When you click on the Analyze tab, it brings you up a very nice, what some people refer to as a spider diagram, others a radar chart. But it gives you a visual image of all the statistical data that's contained that you should be using to make your decisions. That data specifically discusses a few points: proportionality, splitting, competitiveness, minority representation, and compactness. So I'm not going to waste time talking about proportionality or splitting because proportionality is pretty much equal for all the maps. Splitting is the same for everybody because we only have one county. Competitiveness represents the percentage of competition within the districts based on the map. So generally speaking, the greater the competitiveness, the better. Competitiveness can lead to actual representation of the constituents and prevent non-competitive populations. Please take a look at the competitive measurements. They are very different amongst the maps. Minority representation, my understanding that there was a bit of talk about that. All of the maps are equal among the minority representation. Compactness, it's a tool developed to deter gerrymandering. Please look at that one. The map that represents all of them the best is the Harford County Aberdeen Havre de Grace Plus map. That map is the map according to the data that is the best fit for the population that we have. So I encourage you to take a look at that tab and review that data, because that is the best map that's available to us. And I know I'm at my time limit, so thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Next, I have Ronnie Davis.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I have not been able to attend redistricting meetings, but I want to thank you for allowing me to speak, and also for all of you for volunteering your time for this redistricting. I have been following the process, however, and have been keeping with the proposed maps. I'm very interested in the combined map. I think bipartisanship is important, and it's good to have multiple contributors. I would like to hear more about how the communities of interest are being addressed in the Aberdeen Havre de Grace Plus map. And as a former candidate, I'm curious whether the map changes any precinct lines that would affect current candidates. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. Next, I have David Pridgeon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I'm a lifelong Harford resident. I've been engaged in politics on a full-time basis for many years. I just returned from 2 weeks in Eastern Tennessee working with grassroots activists. I'm actively engaged in the 2021 Virginia House races. I've been on national staff of presidential races, so I have status to speak. Webster's dictionary defines ethics as the discipline dealing with what is good and bad and with moral duty and obligation. Some areas of this commission lack ethics. As a voter in Councilmanic District B, am I to believe a fair and just map will be drawn while Commissioner Eric Roby is an active campaign advisor for council candidate Aaron Penman? Commissioner Roby has an active stake in a race which he is helping draw the lines for. Are we to believe Mr. Roby does not have an agenda? Mr. Roby, what is your sense of ethics that tells you this is all okay? Do you not see this clear violation of conflict of interest? Why does candidate Penman believe this conflict of interest is acceptable? I call on this commission to remove Mr. Roby and remove the taint that presently resides over your work. Mr. Roby, even Tammany Hall would have smiled at such a brazen move that you have made, drawing the lines for your candidate. Sir, your ethics are severely lacking. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comment, sir. So that concludes the public comment period. I don't have anyone else signed up, so we are going to transition over to final comments from each of the commissioners. Commissioner Thorne, I will start with you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to take this opportunity to express to the citizens that have offered testimony this evening my appreciation for their taking the time and providing their input, and would encourage you, all of you, to stay close to the process since we are actually voting on a map to recommend to the county council on next Monday night. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Roby. Commissioner Roby, you there?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. No, just very briefly, thank everybody for coming out to the virtual town hall tonight. We certainly appreciate all the input that's been shared through the entire process, and I think you'll find that we have 4 good maps that we'll be deliberating and debating over the course of the next week here, and we certainly look forward to a spirited conversation. And just for everybody out there, just remember that this is an advisory committee, much like the County Planning Advisory Board or many other boards and commissions that residents of Harford County serve on, that this is an advisory commission. So when you have the final say-so, the individuals that will actually be approving the maps and drawing the final lines will be the county council, not this commission. We submit our maps to the county council, and they make the decision as to what the final maps will look like. So let's just keep that in mind as we go forward. And I look forward to our meeting on Monday night and then again on Thursday night. And I certainly appreciate working with my fellow commissioners throughout the last, I guess, 3 or 4 months here. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Roby. Commissioner Brooknell?
Hi, I just want to echo the comments. Just thanking everyone for coming out tonight and for participating in the process. I want to encourage you to continue to stay engaged in the process, as Commissioner Roby mentioned. Our involvement ends next Thursday, but it continues on at the county council. And so I encourage the public to continue participating in this very important process. I do also want to note that I heard in one of the public comments that there were questions posed. I think it was from Ronnie Davis, and I would just encourage her to send those to our email, the redistricting email address, so that we can follow up on that. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. So just to conclude, thank you very much for everyone for joining us today. I encourage everyone, just like the other commissioners stated, please keep in touch with the process. We have one more meeting, well, excuse me, 2 more meetings. Monday we'll be deciding tentatively on a final map, and Thursday we'll be voting to finalize the plan that we'll be presenting to the county council. That is due to them October 1st. Thank you very much for everyone's attendance today. And if there is no other business to come before the commission today from the commissioners, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.